Ayo, what's going on, my ASVAB party people? I'm Anderson, I'll be your ASVAB coach, and in this video, you're going to enjoy a recording from last night's session on negative numbers. And so with that said, remember that negative numbers, they can feel tough because you have to worry about addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and other things as well. And so in this class, you're going to be seeing the rules to basically tackling all of that so you can lower that test anxiety and boost that confidence. And if you'd like to join us for a free class because maybe the videos are good, but you feel like it'd be better if you joined us, hey, register for a free class. If you click the link in the description, or if you click the link right over here, you're gonna go ahead and get taken to a page where you can register, save your seat, and that way you can show up and ace the ASVAB. And so, with that said, if you have any questions, my number is in the description of this video. That way you can keep raising your score. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get to tackling negative numbers. That way you can ace the ASVAB. Let's go. So with that said, let's go ahead and start off my party people. So rules of negative numbers. Go ahead, take a screenshot over there. Let me go ahead and make sure I'm screenshot ready. Go ahead. Take a screenshot right there about negative numbers. We're gonna have a little chat right now. Go ahead, go ahead. And if this is your first time in my class, yeah, I goof around a lot because I'm pretty confident in the way I teach. So go ahead. This is what you want to screenshot. And this is gonna really serve as kind of like a base for you. If you ever get stuck dealing with negative numbers, adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing, doesn't matter. If you ever get stuck, you can always reference this. And I fully expect you to reference this. Now, here's the thing. I'm going to be explaining the actual process of adding and subtracting and all that good stuff in this way and also in my own way. That way you have two different perspectives and it's going to be really up to you to choose the one you prefer and run with it. Because again, at first, we want to learn a way to do it, and then we'll improve upon it and then figure out the way that we always want to do it. So again, let's start off by just immersing ourselves, getting it done the right way, then we'll get it done the best way. Sound good? So let's go ahead and move forward from here. So just a little recap here. Let me just zoom in now. When you're adding numbers, I mean, this is pretty obvious. Let me just go and start here. This one's pretty obvious. When you're adding two positive numbers, it's always going to end up being a positive number. But let me go ahead and make sure I kind of play off of this and show you how I think about it in my head. So that way you can think about it better in your head. So let me go ahead here and let's go ahead and use this space to the left. So I'm going to go ahead and draw a little number line. And what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to go ahead and copy this a few times. And just a few more times there and one more time over here. Just going to copy it 4 times to really show you what's going on. Just to really show you what's going on here. So grab that. All right. So let's focus our attention over here. So everybody, let's just first understand the easy side. Let's go ahead and say we have a positive number. So let me just go ahead and say that this is 0. If I start off with a 3, and then I go ahead and add. So if I say 3 plus 5, if I'm adding 5, am I going to be going to the right or to the left on this number line, everybody? Quick, chat box, go, 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 go. Am I going to the left or the right? If I'm just adding a positive number, adding like 5 or 10 or 15, which way am I going to go? Exactly. I'm going to go to the right. I'm going to go to the right. So let's just say, that's going to be 8 over here if I'm doing 3 plus 5. And I think we all know that. I think for a lot of us, this is pretty common knowledge. If I have a positive number, add a positive, the result's going to be a positive. And that's what this first one really shows here. A positive plus a positive is a positive. But let me go ahead and make it a flip side argument here. So watch this. If I have a negative number and then I add a negative, or if I have a negative number and I subtract from it, let's look at it like this. Let's take a look at this situation because this is the one that a lot of people get confused on, but I'm really here to make sure you understand why things work. So let's say we have 0. Let me zoom in. So let's go ahead and say we start at, let's say, -5, okay? So let's say we start off at -5. If I'm at -5, everybody, if I'm at -5 and I subtract 2, If I subtract, what direction am I going? Correct, right? Again, these are pretty basic fundamental arguments that we're making right now, right? But there's a purpose to this. Remember how I always do my classes. I set you up with the small, simple steps to get that big picture done the right way. So if I'm going to go ahead and let's say, write out the situation here, -5 minus 2. Well, all you're doing is you're saying, hey, I'm already negative, and now I'm getting more negative. Everybody, what's 5 plus 2? Quick, chat box, go. 5 plus 2 gives me, a regular 5 plus a regular 2 gives me a 7. If I have a -5 and I take away 2, I am then at what? -7. -7. We do not go backwards. We continue going left, and we end up at -7. So this is lesson number 1 for a lot of us. This is something that a lot of people get wrong. It's very common, but don't worry, we can explain this. So think about it like this. If I am positive and I'm going more positive, you're just adding and it stays positive. If I'm already going negative and I go more negative, I'm technically adding those numbers, but in the negative direction. One more time. If I'm already negative and then I'm subtracting, it's just like getting more negative. Yes or no? Does that make sense to anybody? -5, take away 2, you keep going left. So left and left, just add the steps to the left, 7, and keep it negative. That's all I'm saying there. If you're going in the same direction, add those numbers and then keep the sign. That's all we're saying. All right, cool. So it looks like we got that fundamental principle down, because trust me, this is going to come back in a couple of slides. So get ready for that. But here is where it gets even juicier. So we talked about, okay, if we're positive and we're adding, more positive. If we're negative and subtracting, more negative. So just add the numbers, keep it negative. But this is the tricky part with the adding and subtracting negatives. Has anyone here, before I even continue, anyone here ever had like, oh, I got a -5 plus 3, and because I got a positive and a negative, oh, that's automatically going to be negative. Has anybody here ever tried to use the rules for multiplication for adding and subtracting accidentally? Right? It's happened to everybody here. It's happened. At one point or another in learning this, this may have happened to you. And so let's really talk about why that's actually the wrong way to think about it. And let's really get into it. So over here, the third and the fourth one over here. So one thing I want you to know is when you have a big sign like this, that just means that this is the bigger number. And a small sign means it's a smaller number. So if I have a big number, a big positive number, and I'm adding a small negative number, the result is going to be positive. So let me give you an example. An example would be something like this. Let's go ahead and say we had, let me actually just draw it right over here. Let's go ahead and say we had 7 plus -2. As a reminder, everybody, this is the exact same thing as, this is the same as 7 minus 2. So did you know that? Yes or no? 7 plus -2 is the same thing as 7 minus 2. Did you know that? Yes or no? Oh, wow. A lot of people here didn't quite know that. That's one thing we're going to want to make sure we're confident with. Adding a negative is the same thing as subtracting. So subtracting is the same thing as adding the opposite. That's what that means. And so over here, that's where this is shown. So again, subtraction is adding the opposite. So if you're adding a negative number, all that means is you're subtracting that number. So I wanted to make sure that that's one thing that we're going to be really talking about today for sure. So get ready to bring that back. But think about it like this. If I have a big number and we're adding a smaller negative, think about it. Everybody, is -2 or -2, is that enough to turn 7 into the negative direction? Is that enough? No, it's not. It's not. You really have to think about like what's canceling out. Because if I have 7 and I'm adding -2, well, that means that for 7, I'm going to cancel out 2 of them. So from 7, I go down to 6, down to 5. And that's what the answer is going to be. And I know a lot of us know that 7 minus 2 is 5. I'm not here to patronize anybody. I am simply here to make you acknowledge these rules that are way too important down the road. Let me go ahead and give you another example here with a negative and a positive. And don't worry, if you're sitting here like not really making too much sense, we got a lot of practice. Don't worry, I got you. So let's go ahead and take a look here. So over here, let's go ahead and say we had a small 3 and we're adding a negative 8. Let's say we're talking about something like that. A 3 plus negative 8. Everybody, 3 plus negative 8 is the same thing as saying 3 what 8? What operation goes there? 3 what 8? 3 minus 8. Again, exactly. Subtraction is the same thing as adding the opposite. So if you see plus negative number, it's the same thing as subtraction. Same thing, same thing. And so over here, what we're going to include is minus. Now, let me make sure you guys kind of see subtraction in an easier way. So let me go ahead and bring this over to me. So if I'm looking at this, okay, everybody, true or false? Subtraction is the same thing as taking the difference, seeing how far apart numbers are. Yes or no? Okay, I'm glad you agree, because I agree too. Subtraction is the same thing as taking the difference. How far apart are these numbers? So let me really show you an easy way to do this. Everybody, how far apart are 3 and 8? How far apart are 3 and 8? 5, right? They are 5 numbers apart. Zena, I saw you mouth it off there too. Yeah, that is going to be 5 numbers apart. That is correct. And so this is going to equal 5, but not exactly, because when you look at it, which number's bigger, the 3 or the 8? The 8. And so you keep the sign of that bigger number. And that's it right there. That's one way we can think about it. That is one way to think about it. So at the same time, again, if you're adding 2 numbers with different signs, just subtract them and keep the sign of the bigger number. It could be here, 7 plus negative 2. You subtract 7 and 2 and you get 5. The 7 was bigger, so you keep it a positive 5. Over here, you got 3 minus 8. 3 minus 8, the difference is 5, but it's going to be negative because the 8 is bigger. Yes or no? Is that making a little more sense to anybody here? And don't worry, we're going to get plenty of practice. I got you. So I'm glad it's making a little sense here so far. Because remember, at the end of the day, we cannot practice properly if we don't have the methods to do so, right? So we got to make sure we get that in. All right. So with that said, I'm hoping that that made even somewhat sense in the beginning, because now what we're going to do is I'm going to take you to some guided practice, like over here. So we're going to take a look at some of these pieces of practice. We have about 4 sets of these. We have addition here. We're going to have subtraction, multiplication, and division. Then after that, we are going to trickle in some word problems as well. And then I'm going to time you on some practice to see how far you can go. And that's it. And we're going to have a good time. So Priscilla, before I even begin here, Priscilla asks, what if it's negative 3 subtracting negative 5? So Priscilla, where would that fall under? If you have a negative 3, so I'm just going to entertain her question real quick. If you have a negative 3 subtracting 5, think about it like this, Priscilla. You're already negative, and then you're going more negative. More negative. So 3 plus 5 is going to be 8, and it just stays negative. And that's exactly what's going to happen. So does that make sense there, Priscilla? Let me know if that makes sense there. Yeah, it'll be negative 8 because you already are negative 3, taking away 5 more. So you've taken away 8, negative 8. All right. So let's jump on in. I got you. So let's jump on in over here. Let's go and take a look at some of these problems, starting from the top. Everybody, let me make sure we understand what I said earlier. If I got 6 plus negative 4, everybody, that's the same thing as writing 6 what? What's the right way to write that? You could write that as Aldine coming in hot with the first one there and everybody else coming in there. Yes, 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 yes. Remember, subtraction is the same thing as adding the negative or adding the opposite. So if I'm adding a negative, that's the same thing as just subtracting. And if you look at it this way, 6 minus 4, that's a lot more doable because everybody 6 minus 4 is correct. Positive 2, because you have a big 6 minus a small 4, you're going to end up with 2. And so booyah right there, that'll just give us 2. We should feel pretty good about that one. Let's go and take a look at the second one here. So one more time, again, if I'm looking at 12 plus -9, everybody, that's the same thing as writing what? 12 what? That's the same thing as writing what? I want everybody to type it into the chat box. Everybody. Come on, we got this. There you go. More participation equals higher scores. Remember that? Exactly. If we're taking a look at 12 plus negative, that's the same thing as 12 minus 9. Same exact thing. 12 minus 9, everybody, is. Look at that. And so for anybody here who's looking at this like, man, this is too easy. This is not worth my time. You just wait. I got you. So let's go ahead and take a look at this one here. We got 7 plus -10. Everybody, 7 plus -10 is the same thing as saying what? 7 what? Aylin coming in hot, Crystal right there with you, right? Yep, exactly. 7 minus 10. Now let's ask ourselves, when we're subtracting, remember, all we're doing is taking the difference. Everybody, the difference between 7 and 10 is what? Right, the difference is 3, but because the 10 is bigger, because you are taking away more than you have, it'll end up being a -3. And that's all subtraction is. It's just taking the difference. That's all it is. That's all it is. And so far, even with just these first 3, who's feeling like they've learned something already in this class? Yes or no? Go ahead and hit it. Right on. I'm telling you right now, being able to deal with negative numbers is that one little bit of anxiety that you're not going to have to deal with on test day. So let's go ahead and keep it moving here. We got 4 plus -8. 4 plus -8, everybody, rewrite that. What's another way to write this out? Hey, so Karen, I got you. So we're going to be looking at different examples. I'm just warming you up with the idea of adding opposites, because that's the same thing as subtraction. So again, if we're adding opposites, yep, that is subtracting. Yeah. All right, and so we can rewrite this, everybody, as 4 minus 8. And so again, if we're taking the difference between 4 and 8, 4 is 4 numbers away from 8, but what direction, positive or negative? Yeah, negative, exactly. That's all we have to worry about, everybody. That is all we have to worry about. Boom, -4, because they're 4 apart, but 8 is bigger, so you keep that sign. Exactly, that's right, Maya. Take the sign of the bigger number. That's what's up. Over here now, we have -7 plus -3. Everybody, go ahead and rewrite this one for me. What's -7 plus -3? How does that look like? Crystal, you have it first right there, followed by Pedro and Christine. That's right, that's right. So Aylin, so notice how we have adding the opposite here. When we're adding the opposite, that is the same thing as subtraction. So we can write this as -7 minus 3. And so think about it. If I'm already negative and going more negative, that's basically like saying, hey, let's add these, keep the sign. Everybody, 7 plus 3 is 10, and then you keep the sign because you're going back and then back more. So you're back 10 spaces. Oh yeah, money. Exactly. Like if I spent $7 and I spend 3 more, I spent $10. Exactly. Exactly. And so Jose, I'll take a question from Jose real quick. Go ahead, Jose.
Coach, I have a question. You hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, boss.
I have a question because I was thinking of that. I know because of this, the negatives and the positive numbers, I always get confused. This goes for the same as in PEMDAS, huh?
Yeah, we'll talk about that because there's going to be some of that included in today's class.
Because I get confused on some of those because of the negative and positive. I don't know if you should leave the number at negative. I just wanted to be sure.
No, I got you, man. Don't worry about that. I got you. Yeah. And so when we get there, yeah, I'll basically make sure that you understand the order of operations and how they really work, for sure. So moving forward here, let's go ahead and just speed up the process just a little bit. And if anybody here needs me to repeat anything or slow down, remember, I got you. So up here, we have -11 plus -4. Everybody rewrite that for me. What is that actually going to look like in your head? Everybody, come on, everybody hit it. -11 minus 4. That's what that'll turn into. -11 minus 4. Adding a negative is subtraction. That's exactly what it is. And so when you're looking at a -11, so I go back 11, then I go back 4. Since I'm going in the same direction, add them. 11 plus 4 is 15, but what's the sign going to be? Negative 15. Exactly. That's right, Mikhail. That's right, Alex. That's right, Max. Exactly. Exactly. Negative 15. We got to get the hang of this because we're going to go into the next slide, look at a different little rule set that we're going to look at, and we're going to bring it all together in the next one after that. All right. So over here, let's speed it up. Negative 10 plus a negative 3 over here. This is going to basically change into a negative 10 minus 3. If I'm already negative 10 and I'm subtracting from that, just add them and keep it negative. So that's negative 13. And lastly, over here, a negative 16 plus a negative 7 is the same thing as saying negative 16 minus 7, both negative. So 16 plus 7, 23. And we end up getting a negative 23. And there's that answer. So one more time, what I've been preaching up to this point really is, again, subtraction is adding the opposite. That is lesson number 1 for today. Subtraction is the same thing as adding the opposite. And when we're subtracting, we're just taking the difference. That is all it is. That's all it is. And so with that said, my party people, let's go ahead and move on into this next set here where, again, it's going to get slightly more difficult, but it's only because we haven't explored this rule yet. So let's go ahead and explore a little more now. So let's go ahead and take a look here. Let's first start off with this top one here. So did anybody here look at that decimal and automatically think, I can't do this? Anybody? Sometimes get confused with decimals. Jose, you were like, yep, fractions get you. All right, so I see some mixed reviews, and that's good because I want everybody here to lean more towards, look, I don't care if it's a decimal. It's not going to affect how I approach the problem. The process stays the same. You know, how you're actually going to calculate, well, there's decimals involved, so there's a little more that you have to do, but there's nothing really crazy about this. So let's just start off with what we know. Everybody, if I see here that this is adding a negative number, I can rewrite this problem as what? What can I rewrite this into to make it a little easier on myself? What can I write? Who's got it? What can I replace this entire thing with? I don't know your hand there. Michaela says negative 12.4. And then he says, so adding a negative is the same thing as subtracting 3.5. Mikhail, great job there, buddy. Yep, that's exactly it. That's exactly it. And so just because there's a decimal involved doesn't mean the approach changes. We got to stay calm, cool, and collected here, all right? And so we got that. And so if we're already negative, going more negative, that is the same thing as doing what? What's the A word there? If you're already negative, going more negative, we are basically adding. Exactly. We are adding. So everybody, 12.4 plus 3.5. Let's add those together. This isn't going to be very hard, actually, because 12 plus 3, 15. 0.4 plus 0.5, 0.9. So what we end up having here is 15.9, but the answer is going to be negative. And there it is. And there it is. So Gene, I see your face right there, man. This is a little more manageable. Right on, man. Right on. Again, that's all my job here is today. Make dreams come true. Take you to the Disneyland of math. That is my goal today. All right. So let's go ahead and take a look at this next one here. That also includes a decimal. So I'm going to, again, just zoom out just a little bit so you can still see the old one. But let's see it. So negative 21.3 plus negative 2.5. Everybody rewrite it for me. Go. So don't do the whole thing yet. Rewrite it for me. How are you going to think about this if you see this? Hey, Jamaria, like I said, I'm here to make dreams come true. So let's go ahead and get after it. How are we going to rewrite this here? How are we going to rewrite this? Ooh, man, I love the participation today, man. That's what's up. Yes. Negative 21.3. I think someone missed the 0.3 there. I got to call you out. Brianna, you got to go ahead and make sure you get that 0.3 in there, girl. So yeah, negative 21.3. And remember, Adding a negative is literally the same thing as subtracting 2.5. And so if I'm taking a look at this, well, I'm already negative, going more negative. I will what? What's the A word again? Hit me. I know it's going to sound annoying, but we are going to get this down by the end of class. I got y'all. Yeah, that's the same thing as adding. So 21.3 plus 2.5. Add one digit at a time. Add the 2 first. So 23.3. Add the 0.5. 23.8. And it'll be a negative 23.8. And that'll be our answer. So with that, let's take a look at some unique types of problems here. So let me focus our attention over here. So everybody, we're looking at this like -8 plus 7. Does anybody here get a little uncomfortable seeing that? Anybody here get even slightly uncomfortable? Even if I were to change it to like -17 plus 45, right? Okay, cool. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to stick to those rules. Again, stick to the fundamentals. Because again, if you have the fundamentals down, it doesn't matter what size numbers they are. It could be -8 plus 7. It could be 565,000 minus whatever. It doesn't matter. The rules don't change. They don't. And so we have a negative number plus a positive number. Who knows what this is the same thing as doing? A negative number plus a positive number is the same thing as what? Woo, Felicia, you got it. Yes, subtracting. It is the same thing as subtracting. Again, if you have opposite signs, a negative number plus a positive, those are opposites, which is the same thing as subtracting. Everybody, what's the difference between 8 and 7? 1. But which number is bigger? Which sign are we going to keep? Exactly. The 8's bigger, so we'll keep its sign, and we'll keep that as a -1. So a -8 plus 7 should not intimidate us. -8 plus 7, that's the same thing as just subtracting those two numbers, keeping the sign of the bigger number, and that is -1. Now, if we need a visual for this, because I know a lot of folks here may be looking at this like, okay, I'll memorize the rule, but I'm still stuck. Like, I want to understand this. So allow me here. Allow me here. So let's go ahead and just actually visualize the problem. I got you, Maya. I got you for sure. So let's take a look at this. So if I'm looking at my number line over here, all right, there's my number line. I can touch it, nice and easy. And so if I have my number line, let me go ahead and mark this over here as 0. And then I'll go ahead and just mark some ticks here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I'll mark a 5 here. And then I'll mark it again. So 6, 7, 8, 9, and then 10 over here. And these are negatives. So because I'm going to the left, these will be negatives. And then over here, I'll just go ahead and just mark them off for positives. So 1, 2, 3, 4, +5 right there. And I don't really need to do any more, but just in case I need to copy this for later. So there's my 10. So Maya, pay attention here. I got you. I got you. So let's say we have that -8. Okay. Let's say we have that -8. If I have the -8, I'm basically starting over here. So I'm going to grab my thing. All right, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, -5, 6, 7, -8. So Maya, do you agree that this is where we should start off for -8s? Yes or no, Maya? Let me know. Are we good right there? That's where we should start? Cool. Yep, that's exactly where we should start. Now, if I am adding 7, adding a +7, everybody, what direction is that going to take me? To the right or to the left? Which way? Yeah, that's going to take me to the right. If I'm adding, that's going in the positive direction. And so what's going to happen here is, hey, from 0, I went all the way back to -8. And then from -8, let's go ahead and use green here. I added 7. And so what's happening from there is I'm going to go back 7 spaces. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So I'm going to stop right there. What number do we end up at, everybody? What number do we end up at? We end up at -1. Yeah, we end up at -1. That's going to be our answer. That's going to be the answer. But let me dive in a little more in terms of what you're actually seeing happen before your eyes. Everybody, yes or no? This part right here from, let me go ahead and let iPhone in. So from here, -8 to that -1, the purple and the green, true or false? This part of the purple and the whole green basically canceled out. True or false? Yeah, the answer to that is true. Yeah, it absolutely is. Because if you look at it, yeah, the steps that I took to the left got erased by the steps I took to the right. I think we can all agree on that for sure. And think about it like this, everybody. In math, when you are erasing the steps that you took, is that not subtraction? Yeah, that's subtraction right there. That's subtraction. And so essentially what you're seeing happen here, because I really want to make sure this makes sense to you intuitively, that way you can practice on a much bigger scale. But when you take a look here, Maya, I saw you put your hand down. Hopefully that's because you got it now. But we're looking at this and we're saying, hey, if I have a -8, so 8 going this way, and I got a +7 going that way, basically 7 and 7 are going to cancel out, and I'm going to have 1 left, but that 1 is negative because I have more negative than I do positive. And because I have more negative than I do positive, what's going to happen after all the canceling is I'm left with a negative. Keep the sign of the bigger number. Yes or no? Is this making even more sense to anybody else than it did before? Right on here. Again, guys, small, simple steps. We've got to take small, simple steps to get this down. So Maya, I got you. If you have a question, I'll go ahead and let you unmute yourself. So go ahead if you have a question. I got you.
Okay, so basically, if I get a question like this and I get stuck, can I just write out a number line and, do it like that?
Yeah,
to where I can visualize it.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're practicing, I absolutely recommend that. If you're on the actual ASVAB, I really wouldn't recommend that route. I would recommend practicing to the point where you can make it make sense, and you can get there. Mm-hmm. But the reason I tell you that's not really an advisable strategy is because you're timed on the ASVAB. And so not everybody has the time to make a whole number line, especially if the numbers get bigger, like let's say 23 minus 57, right? That, we're gonna have a lot of dots here. We're gonna have a lot of little tick marks, right? And so that's why I wouldn't recommend that. But use this to start off. And then as you go along, trust yourself to do it in your head. Promise you it'll.
Okay, because I remember the rule where the bigger number is what sign you use.
Yeah.
But I keep getting confused. Like the other ones I was getting to till we got to -8 plus 7.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We have to follow those rule sets because, again, the rule is if you have a negative plus a positive or a positive minus a number, both of those mean the same thing. You are going to subtract the two numbers and keep the sign of the bigger number. That's all that means. Every time.
Okay.
Yeah, and so with practice, we'll really make that, really hit home. And so before I continue to these next problems here, Jose, what's going on, boss? Let me go ahead and hit you right here. Go ahead.
I was gonna ask you like what's her name, Brianna, I think, because when I first started doing it, when we got that problem, I thought it was -15. But like how Maya was saying, how like we always have to go off the bigger number, like what's the sign? But then I started getting confused, like but pretty much what you're saying, that they're both signs are the same. You're gonna add them, but you keep the sign. But if they're opposite, you keep the bigger sign, but you do the bigger signs. You do it like if it's a positive, then you do the bigger signs, like you add them, and if it's a negative, you like how Maya was saying.
Yeah, so right? If they're the same signs, so if you have a negative subtracting a number, that's going to be basically adding those numbers and then keeping the sign. Yeah, but when you have opposite signs like we do here,
yeah,
so -8 plus a 7, you're going to subtract these two numbers and then keep the sign of the bigger number. The 8 was bigger, so you keep the negative.
Okay, thank you. I just want to be sure because I know there's some that get me confused. Like,
hey,
I just get lost.
Hey, it's all good. So let's go ahead and practice more here then. So if we look at this here, so what we're looking at is, hey, we have a -12, and then we're going to add 10. Okay, so if we follow our rules the way we were supposed to think about it, it's basically saying, hey, 12 minus 10 is 2, but it's going to be a positive or negative. Right. It'll be negative. It'll be negative because the 12 is bigger. It's like saying, hey, if I start off by, again, let's go and use the example of money. If I owe $12 on my credit card, and then I pay $10 to that card. So if I basically pay off $10 of that debt, I still owe $2, right? If I owe $12, I paid off 10 of it, I still got to pay $2. And so I still owe $2. I still owe $2. So that's another way we can think about it if we wanted to think about it that way. Another way, hey, if I'm negative 12, if I go 12 left, 10 right, 10 of those steps are going to cancel out. I got 2 steps left. That's to the left side. Another way you can think about it if you, again, want to visualize it in different ways. But long story short, the shortcut rule is if you have opposite signs here, just go ahead and subtract them. But because we have the 12 being the bigger number, it'll be negative 2. And there it is. And there it is. And so let's go and zoom on out over here and let's get to some of these trickier looking ones here and here. So let's go ahead and have a little bit of fun with some mathematics, everybody. So this is where we're going to get into PEMDAS. This is where we're going to get into PEMDAS. So everybody, when it comes to PEMDAS, what's the first thing we're going to take care of? What's the P stand for again? Oh, snaps. This is where we start having fun, Karen. Right, we always take care of the parentheses first. So this bracket over here, this curly bracket looking thing here, yep, that is still a parentheses, all right? That's still a parentheses. So I can pretend that this is like this if I wanted to. We can pretend that it's just like that. If it helps you out a little bit, it's all good. Whatever helps you sleep at night. But long story short, if I'm looking at this parentheses here, I got 14 plus a negative 6. Everybody, adding the opposite is the same as what? Ooh, sounds good, Pedro. We'll see if you got it. Yeah, adding the opposite is the same as subtracting. So plus a negative number, that is the same thing as saying 14 minus 6. Everybody, before I continue, yes or no, do we have that step down? Adding the opposite is the same thing as subtraction. Yes or no? Hit me with the chat box here. Go ahead, go ahead, go ahead. Adding the opposite is the same as subtraction. Cool, feeling pretty good about that. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate that. So 14 minus 6, everybody, what's that going to give me? Correct, that's going to give me 8. Karen, you feeling a little more confident about this? So 5 plus 8 is what? We have a positive 5 and we're adding an 8. So because they are both the same sign, what did I say before? If they're the same sign, a positive 5 plus a positive 8, yeah, you add them. You add them. And 5 plus 8 gives us what, everybody? 13, and that is a positive 13. Again, both the same sign. We're positive 5, positive 8, add them to get that positive 13. We're feeling pretty good. Again, we just looked at something that for some of us, maybe like 25% of us, we were like, whoa, what? Hey, Mr. Duran, I'm not sure if I'm ready for that. But look, follow your rules and you can handle it. Every problem has a solution. As long as you remember that, you're going to work to find out how to get there. That's really what it's all about. Let's take a look at this one here. So 7 plus 3 plus negative 14. Okay, this might look like it sucks, but it doesn't. It doesn't. So again, first take care of business here. Let's take care of the parentheses here. Everybody, what can we do? That's right, Pedro. What's up? That 3 plus negative 14, that's right, Aldine. That turns into 3 minus 14. Because again, adding a negative will turn it into subtraction. And so 3 minus 14. Everybody, what's 3 minus 14? How far is 3 from 14, everybody? 3 from 14 is 11 spaces away. But because we're subtracting the 14, not subtracting the 3, it'll have to be a negative 11. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. So we write that over here, negative 11. And so let me put that into parentheses like we had before. Obviously, my big old head's about to get in the way, so I'm going to have to move myself in a moment. So if I'm zooming in here, and we're looking at 7 plus 11, everybody, 7 plus negative 11 is the same thing as writing what? Same thing as writing what? Thanks, Alex. Appreciate that. Aldine, Safa, thank you. Ooh, you guys are busting right now today. I love it. Love it. 7 minus 11. That is the same thing as 7 minus 11. And so the difference between 7 and 11 is 4. 7 going to 11 is 4. But it's going to be a negative 4 because we're taking away more than what we have. Okay? We're taking away more than what we have. Okay? So that's going to be negative 4. Negative 4. It's all good, Karen. Again, mistakes are going to happen while we work through this. Mistakes are going to happen. So that's what's happening there. That's what's happening there. So just to make sure that, our brains are still intact, because again, we're learning a lot right now, but let's go ahead and keep our brains intact over here. 4 minus 7, everybody. What's the automatic answer going to be? Go. 4 minus 7 is, let's see if everybody's got it. Let's see if everybody's got it. Because again, it's not 7 minus 4, it's 4 minus 7. So that it's literally the opposite way. So it'll be the opposite sign. Instead of doing 7 minus 4 is 3, 4 minus 7 is negative 3. Exactly. You're going the opposite way, so it'll be the opposite sign. Opposite way, opposite sign. And then 8 minus 13. Quick, everybody. What's 8 minus 13 going to give us? Everybody, go ahead. Go, 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 go. Don't look at the chat box. Put your answer in. 8 minus 13. What is that going to give us? That'll give us negative 5. That is correct. That is correct. That is correct. Again, we have to follow these rules. And again, by following these little rules, the big thing will take care of itself. But we can't just sit here and hope for the best when there's work that needs to be done. We have to practice these rules. We have to practice these rules. And I know a lot of us here are going to be jacked up, feeling pretty good about this, feeling like you learned a lot. And I praise you, but we have to make sure that we're growing beyond the class as well. And I'll teach you how to do that. So let's go ahead here. I'm going to give you guys some time to practice here. We got some addition and subtraction going on. We've got a total of 8 problems on the screen. I'm going to give everybody here 2 total minutes to do as many of these as you can. And then Jose, I'll start off by answering your question first. If you want to type it out, go ahead. But 2 minutes starting now. Let's see what you got. Again, start with the ones that you feel most comfortable with and work your way to the harder ones. Do what you got to do. I'm here for you. And Jose, if you want to type your question out, I'll be more than happy to address it right when we're done. So with that said, I'm going to just go down the list. And if there's any problem that anybody here feels like they need me to go over in more depth, I got you. Obviously, these 2 at the bottom, I'm going to absolutely go over. So don't worry about that. But these ones at the top, here are the answers. So just looking at this one, this is going to be a positive 3. Next up, 15 minus 21, negative 6. 25 minus 75, negative 50. 6 minus negative 13. This is a new one that we haven't checked out yet. Everybody, if you are subtracting a negative, that's the same thing as what? Exactly. So here's how we can get this down, everybody. So there's a lot of people here that may be looking at this and saying, yo, Mr. Duran, Coach Anderson, whatever the hell your name is, you didn't teach us that. I got you. Look, everybody, what do we say about subtraction? Let's write that down again. Everybody, subtraction is what? Write it out in the chat box. Go ahead. Subtraction is the same as what? What is subtraction the same as? Adding what though? Adding what? What did I say? Subtraction is the same as, thank you, Sandra, but put it all together. Thank you, Kelly. Substation, no subtraction. Oh, Kelly, you're not there yet. Everybody write it out because nobody got it yet. Remember, subtraction is the same as adding the opposite. Everybody type it into the chat box. I'm making everybody do it. Everybody. I'm not moving on. We got 76 people here. I'm not moving on till at least 50 of us got it in there. Go. Subtraction is the same as adding the opposite. Full sentence there. Subtraction is the same as adding the opposite. Adding the opposite. I'm telling you right now, there's a reason that negative numbers intimidate a lot of people. And it's because we have not taken the proper time to get these fundamentals down. Get these down, and a lot of doors are going to open for you. I can't express that enough. I really can't. And so subtraction is the same as adding the opposite. I think we're at 47 here. Got a couple more here. Thank you. Appreciate that, gang. All right. So I know I'm being annoying, but this is for your benefit. I'm pretty sure a lot of you need this. So with that, here we are. Subtraction is the same as adding the opposite. So let me just take a look right here. We are subtracting a negative. So subtracting a negative will be the same. Subtracting is the same as adding the opposite. Everybody, what's the opposite of a negative? Right, a positive. So 6 minus negative 13. Same thing as adding 13. Again, subtracting a negative, do the opposite, add a positive. And that's how we get 6 plus 13 to get an answer of 19, not negative 7. All right, the answer is positive 19, not negative 7. Did anybody here get negative 7? And again, be honest. Anybody here get negative 7? Thanks, Karen. Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Aylin. Thank you, Ellie. Thanks for being honest. Again, and if you got negative 19, again, another way that we may have done it incorrectly. Subtracting a negative, that's adding. Same thing as adding. And subtracting is the same as adding the opposite. Remember these fundamental rules, because this is how it's going to get done. Positive 19. Sile, it will not be negative 19. No, because you see that we have a positive 6. Then think about it like this. If we're looking at positive being this way, subtracting being this way, think about it like this. I'm going to subtract in the opposite direction. I'm technically adding, right? If I'm going to subtract in the opposite direction, I am adding. That's exactly what's going on here. I am taking away negatives. So again, one more time, Tiffany, I got you here. If I am taking away a negative, what's going to happen? I'm bringing in positive, right? So that's how I want you to think of it, Tiffany. With a number line with 13, that's going to be a little much right here, but I want to make sure you get the fundamental here. If I'm taking away bad, I'm bringing in good. That's what's happening. So double negative is adding. So I'm going to write this here for everybody here. So a double negative is adding the positive. Okay, right there. So a double negative is adding a positive. Cool, sounds good. So yeah, a double negative is adding a positive. That's all it means. So let's keep it moving here, gang. We got this. So now we have 6 minus 7 minus 14. First thing that we're going to take care of is that parentheses. Is that correct? Yes or no? We are first going to take care of that parentheses. Right on. So let's go ahead and take care of that parentheses first. So everybody, this should be pretty simple now. This is a little easier than dealing with these crazy double opposites, right? 7 minus 14. 7 and 14 are 7 numbers apart, but will it be positive 7 or negative 7, everybody? What will it be? What will it be? Yeah, that's going to be a negative 7. Remember, subtracting is the same thing as taking the difference, and you just keep the sign of the bigger number. And so 7 minus 14 gives us negative 7, because 7 and 14 are 7 away, but you're taking away more than you have. Then we're going to have 6 minus that negative 7. Ooh, what did we just learn, everybody? If we got a double negative, that's the same thing as what? Positive, adding, right? Exactly. Thanks, Brianna. Yeah, that's right. So 6 minus a negative right over here. Right over here. A double negative is the same thing as adding. Well, right over here, 6 plus 7. Everybody, 6 plus 7, hardest problem we'll do all day. That'll be what? That's right, that'll be 13. Great job so far. And again, if you have any questions, you need me to repeat myself, remember, gang, don't shy away from asking. I am here for you. This is your time, not mine, all right? You have me for 2 full hours. I got you. So there we are. Moving forward here. So if we have a -8 minus a -6, -8 minus -6, it's all good, Sandra. Do you understand why, though? That's the most important thing. I want to make sure you understand why. So if we have -8 minus -6, everybody, what is that going to turn into? -8 plus 6, not the answer. We don't want to jump straight to the answer. We want to understand what we're doing here. But yeah, if we have a double negative, negative, that's going to turn into +6, plus 6. We still have that -8 from the beginning, but if you look at -8 plus 6, one way to look at that is saying, hey, I got 8 in the negative direction. I got 6 in the positive direction. So 6 and 6 are going to cancel out, but I'm left with 2 in that negative direction. Or you can just look at the rule. A negative number plus a positive, subtract them, keep the sign of the bigger number. 8 minus 6 is 2. The 8 was bigger, so -2. Again, so many different ways you can think about it. And like I said in the beginning of class today, so many different ways that you can think about it. I want you to pick the way that makes the most sense to you and really go with it and really run with it. Janice, how did I get this one right and the last 2 wrong? Because you're learning. That's really it. You're learning. And so you got it right here, probably perhaps because it was finally clicking toward the end there. It's all good. It's all good, Chico. We got this. Let's take a look at this one here. -4 minus 5 minus 12. So we have a parentheses. Take care of the parentheses first. So with that, 5 minus 12, everybody, what's 5 minus 12? We got -7, that's right. So Peggy, the keep change flip, that's for dividing fractions. That's for dividing fractions there. So 5 minus 12, that will give me -7 because 5 and 12, the difference is 7, but because you're subtracting 12, that's negative. So again, if it was 12 minus 5, 7, 5 minus 12, -7. That's all it is. You're just basically taking the difference, but the opposite way. Boom. So now you have -4 minus -7. I'm taking a look at this saying, hey, ho, double negative means positive. Exactly. So we're going to have -4 plus 7. Now, this is a little tricky here. If we have -4 plus 7, everybody, is this the same thing as subtracting and then keeping the bigger sign? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, it is. Absolutely, absolutely. And so -4 plus 7, that's going to give us a +3. You can really think about this as if I really took this, put it here, and then I took this, put it there. That's really what you're looking at. 7 minus 4. That's exactly what it looks like. A negative number plus a positive is the same as that positive number minus the other number. Did anybody know that? Did anybody here know that -4 plus 7 can be written as 7 minus 4? You can move this to the front, +7 minus 4. If you didn't know that, again, just another way of thinking about it, just another way to see how things really work. And so, Christian, do you have a question? Go ahead. If you want to raise your hand, I'll lower your hand there so you can talk. Hey, what's going on, Datavius? Welcome in, boss. Welcome in, welcome in. And so, Christian, if you want to raise your hand, like I said, I'll go ahead and call on you. But with that said, let's go ahead and take care of the elephant in the room. So let's go ahead and take care of business here. We got a massive parentheses. So let me just make sure we can see this here. Massive parentheses. And so let's go ahead and take care of all of this. So first and foremost, my party people, 3 plus -1. That is the same thing. as saying 3 plus a negative is the same thing as subtraction. So everybody, is that first step correct? 3 plus negative 1, turn that into 3 minus 1. Correct. Yep. Because again, subtraction is adding the opposite. So if I'm adding the opposite, it's the same thing as subtracting. 3 minus 1. We'll feel pretty good that that's 2. So I'm still not out of the woods yet. Still not out of the woods yet. Because I took care of this, took care of that. But I still have adding negative 2. Okay. Everybody, if I'm adding negative 2, what is that going to be? Adding a negative 2 is the same thing as writing what? Or adding a negative anywhere. Adding a negative is the same thing as what S word? Subtraction. Subtraction. So what we have here is minus 2. Minus 2. Huh. Everybody, is this problem as scary as we thought it was? Is this as scary as we thought it was? Nah. And this is going to happen a lot on the arithmetic reasoning on the ASVAB. This is going to happen a lot where you have a problem that looks like this just came out of, 14 years of a trash compactor. You're looking at that like, yo. Most of the times, there is 1 or 2, 3 little things you pick up on, and it's a very, very simple problem. Very simple. And so here we have the negative 8 in front still, and we're adding. But at the end of the day, 2 minus 2, everybody, is going to be what? Just going to cancel out, exactly. Just going to cancel out. And if you have a negative 8 plus 0, everybody, you add 0 to anything, nothing happens. And so negative 8 plus 0, that's just going to be negative 8, and we're good. So did anybody here who tried out this last one, anybody here get negative 8? Anybody here get negative 8? Hey, right on. That's what's up. Again, one problem better, one problem at a time, guys. One problem better, one problem at a time. And so I really do want to shout everybody out here who's still here, man, for real. At the end of the day, look, you cannot expect instant success. It's going to take practice and it takes time. It takes a little bit of tenacity in terms of persevering through those tough spots, but we'll get there. And so, again, if for those of us, I see some people private messaging me asking about the all access pass. Again, I'll talk about the program at the end. Today's the last day for the Labor Day sale. So just stick to the end, stay to the end if you are interested. I got you. So let's go ahead and talk about multiplication and division. All right, everybody. Two simple rules here. Two simple rules. The only rule for multiplying and dividing, and they're the same for both, is that if you are dealing with the same signs, the result will always be, who knows? If I'm multiplying or dividing the same signs, the result is always what? What's going on, Max? Yep, positive. Max got it first there. Appreciate you, boss. And then Crystal coming in hot. Felicia, Aldine, Tremicia, Nimatula, Devin, Cecil. That's correct. That is correct. That is correct. So let's go ahead and write these rules down over here. So multiplying dividing rules. So everybody, look, this is all you got to write down. I promise you this. This is all you got to write down. If you have the same signs, positive. So same signs. Always positive. Always, 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 always. All right. And so if I'm taking a look at something like this, a positive times a positive, that's going to be positive. If I look at a negative times a negative, that will also be a positive. That will also be a positive. Now, well, let's say you have opposite signs. So everybody, using some deductive reasoning, if you have the same signs, it'll be positive. What's going to happen if you have opposite signs, multiplying or dividing? What's going to happen? Everybody write it out. That's correct. Negative, opposite signs. Negative always. Negative always. Always, always, always. And so if I have a positive times a negative, that's going to be negative. If I have a negative times a positive, the order does not matter at all. If they are opposite signs, it will end up as negative. And so earlier, this is what I was talking about in terms of being careful not to confuse this with the rules for addition and subtraction. So I got to make sure that we separate those two ideas. Does anybody here feel like they are going to be, with their notes starting off, do you feel like you're going to be able to recognize which rules to follow depending on the operations if you're using your notes? If you're using your notes. Good. We should be feeling pretty good about that. We should, absolutely. And so, Jose, I'd love to answer your question, brother. Go ahead before we get started. Go ahead.
I have a question, Coach. Like you're saying about the signs, like that problem right there, the -2 and then the parentheses -14. How do you know when you're doing a problem like that? How do you know if it's either adding or subtract or the multiplying? How would you know?
Yeah, so let me go ahead and call on my colleague over here. So let's go ahead and talk about this. So first and foremost, Jose, let's understand what we see here. Because if I'm taking a look, I have a -2, and it's not saying -2 minus 14. This is -2, and it's attached to the -14. Now, everybody help me out over here. If I see a problem where two numbers are attached from a parentheses, what operation is that always going to be? Jose, look at the chat box. Multiply, multiply, multiply. If you have a number in front of a parentheses, that is always multiplication. Always. It is simply -2 times -14. And so this is one of those things with math that, hey, we have to know these little nuances, these little nitty-gritty things. So if you have a -2 and -14, this is the same as -2 times -14. Same thing. They're the same exact thing. So Jose, give me a yes or no in the chat box. Let me know if that makes a little more sense now. Let me know in that chat box. So again, if you don't have a operation, perfect, sounds good. If you don't have an operation there, it will be multiplication. So let's go and get this done, my party people. So whenever we are taking care of problems like this, I got to make sure that you're always in the best position to succeed. And one of the things that I always teach a lot of is mental math. Now, everybody here can do mental math. And this is all mental math is. Like, this is the idea of mental math. Mental math is taking a complicated problem and breaking it down into simpler steps. So really, anything that you use to make life easier is mental math. So here's an example. Everybody, if I'm looking at -7 times 4, there's two things that we're dealing with that we're going to have to address. One, the signs, and two, the actual multiplication. So instead of looking at it as -7 times 4, look at it as a negative times a positive, and then 7 times 4. So just to go ahead and play it out for you, watch this. If I have a negative number times a positive number, everybody, negative times a positive will always give me what? Right, it'll always give me a negative because the signs are opposite. One of them's negative, one of them's positive. The result is always negative. Boom. Opposite signs becomes negative. Then part 2, 7 times 4. If we know our multiplication tables, if we go ahead and remember that, what's that going to give us? 28. Exactly. That'll give us 28. And so we have -28. Right there. Right there. So again, the rule is same signs, positive, opposite signs, negative. That's it. Let's look at this next one here. Everybody, automatically, what's the sign going to be? I don't care about the number. What's the sign going to be no matter what? And that's how you can break it down for yourself. Again, I expect everybody here to be quick on the trigger here. A negative and a positive, that's going to give us a negative. Then 12 times 6 gives us what? Now that's something we got to make sure we know our times tables for, right? 72. If you wanted to use mental math and you don't want to memorize your times tables, just do 6 times the 10 because 12 is 10 and 2. So 6 times 10, 60. 6 times 2, 12. 60 and 12, 72. And that's just another way to think about it. Just another way to think about it. But quick, everybody, tell me the sign of this one. Go. What's the sign going to be? What's the result going to be? Positive. That's correct. It's going to be a positive sign because, again, we have a double negative. If you have the same signs, it's always positive. And then you have 11 times 5, everybody. This makes it easier. What's 11 times 5? Positive 55. So what I really want you to understand, guys, is that you're actually in control here. You are in control. You just have to make sure you're following the fundamental rules to make sure that you're successful. That's all. Here, sign's going to be what? Go. Taking a little time there, guys. You're taking a little time. There you go. Positive. Yep. Going to be positive because you have the same signs. Same signs. That's going to be positive no matter what. And then you just have to deal with 2 times 14. 2 times 14 gives us what? 28. Correct. Next, let's keep it going here. What's the sign going to be? Automatically go. Sign, 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 sign. What's it going to be? Yeah, I would agree. I would agree. Who was that, Gene? Oh, Sandra. Yeah. That, yep, I totally agree. Multiplication and division, very simple rules to follow. Addition, subtraction, you always got to think about like what direction you're going in. So I agree. So here's going to be positive because we're going to have same signs. And then 14 times 8, who knows what that is off the top of their head? 112, 122, 132. What's it going to be, gang? What's it going to be? Come on. 108. Oh, man, we got a lot of different answers here. Man, we got to know our mental math, gang. We got to know our mental math. So here's the thing. I'm going to do it for you like this. The boring, soft, straightforward way. So 4 times 8, that's going to give us 32. Carry the 3. 1 times 8 will give us 8. 8 plus 3 gives us 11. So the answer is going to be positive 112. So if you were trying to use mental math for that, let me just make sure that you're being careful here. So if you're doing 14 times 8 with mental math, remember, split it up into the digits. You have 14. So the 1 represents 10, and that's 4. 10 and 4, yeah, makes 14. And so what you can do, this is happening in your head. What's happening in your head is 10 times 8, 4 times 8, and you bring it back together. This over here becomes 80. Again, in your head, you have 80 and 32. I think adding 80 and 32 is a lot easier than trying to do 14 times 8 in one step. Again, mental math, take one big thing, turn it into 2 smaller things. That's it. And so here we have 80 plus 32. Just take the 8 and the 3. That's 11, 1, 1, and then the 2 at the end, 112. So this is not a mental math class, so I'm going to braze over that. If you want to watch more mental math videos in the group tutoring pass that you get with the program, remember that we have at least 14 classes there, already there for mental math that you can watch. So negative 8 times 3, quick, sign. Go ahead, everybody. What's the sign going to be? Hit me with it. Correct. Again, split it up into easier steps. A negative and a positive when you're multiplying makes a negative. Opposite signs, always negative. 8 times 3. Hit me, everybody. Go. Correct. Correct. Next. Oh, we got 3. Look, when we have 3, everybody, the easiest way to handle this is to go ahead and take care of the signs. Like, seriously. So, everybody, if I have a positive times a negative, what's that going to give me? A positive times a negative, that's going to give me a negative. And then if I have a negative times a positive, what's that going to give me, everybody? That's it. Negative. Cool. That's it. That is it. So I'm going to end up with a negative number at the end. So notice what I did. I first looked at this complicated problem and I said, hey, look, I got to take care of the signs and I got to take care of the numbers. Let's take care of the signs first. If I do a positive and a negative, opposites, I stay negative. So I have a negative with this times a positive. Well, negative times a positive, still going to stay negative. Yes or no, everybody? Did that make sense? Again, just starting off with the signs. Positive, negative, that's negative. Negative times a positive, negative. Yeah, you can work from left to right there. That's totally fine. You can honestly, I don't want to be confusing here, but you can honestly work in whatever direction you want. If everything's being multiplied, you can work in whatever direction you want. Doesn't matter. And so playing off of that, actually, Did anybody here try to do 5 times 10, 50, then 50 times 12? Anybody try to do that? Yeah. Let me show you how you can get the same exact answer. Here's how. Everybody, which of these numbers is the easiest to multiply by? Which of these numbers is the easiest to multiply by? I see some people saying 5, some people saying 10. Look, my butt is going to say 10. Think about it like this. What is 15 times 5? I'll wait. All right, cool. Nobody. What's 15 times 10, everybody? And look at that. Krista was waiting for that. Krista was waiting for that. 150, 150, 150. So my point has been proven, okay? It's easier to multiply by 10 than it is to multiply by 5 and also by 12. 10 is the easiest. So what am I going to do? Everybody, look at this. Everybody, what's 5 times 12? Everybody, what's 5 times 12? Go. 60, right? And then what's 60 times 10, everybody? What is 60 times 10? Exactly. Multiplying by 10, just throw a 0 on there. 600. 600. And if you did it the straightforward way, you would have done 5 times 10, 50, 50 times 12, and you still would have gotten 600. Still would have got there. But with some mental math, you can rearrange how you do it. Give yourself an easier time. So hopefully I blew someone's mind there. But let's go ahead and finish off these little practice sets over here. So everybody hit me. What's the sign going to be at the end here? What's the sign going to be? Negative. It's going to be negative. Here's why. 8 and 12, both positive. So a positive times a positive stays positive. Positive times a negative. Ooh, opposite signs. It's going to end up negative at the end of the day. Boom. Then lastly, we're going to do 8 times 12. Everybody, 8 times 12 is? Hey, right on, Aldine. 96. And then 96 times 5 is going to be 480. Multiplying by 5 is the same thing as multiplying by 10, then dividing by 2. So I'll save everybody the mental math there, but that will be negative 480. So long story short, if you do 8 times 12, that's going to give you 96. And then 96 times 5, you can do it as you please. Again, mental math or not here to judge anybody. 6 times 5 gives you 30. 9 times 5 is 45. Add the 3, gives you 48. Negative 480. And so I'll zoom out so I can leave you with that so you can keep writing down if you want to. But let's take a look at this last one here. Negative 8 times 0 times 24. Everybody, do we need to worry about the sign? What do we notice? What do we notice? What's the answer automatically going to be? Exactly. It's going to be 0. Anything multiplied by 0 is 0. So we're good. We're good. The answer is going to be a big fat 0 right there because we're multiplying by a 0 right here. Yeah. Multiplying by 0, you're going to end up at 0. So before I continue to this next part where we are going to be looking at division now over here, before we get into that, do we have any questions about anything going on here before I move on? Kindly. Easier, Tiffany? I like that. Go ahead, Jose.
I have a question. Does that really matter? Like, I know how you said 0, but does it matter if then a problem in the ASVAB where they give you that like a 0 or a negative 0?
First of all, no such thing as a negative 0. Second, basically, if you're multiplying by 0, it's 0. That's it.
Okay, I just want to be safe. You know what I mean? Like, if they don't give you a negative or some trick like that.
You're good. You're good. You're good. Karen, what's your question? I got you. Let me try to find you in the list here so I can give you permission to use that mic. Here you go. Go ahead, Karen, if you want to use your mic.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so going back to 8 times 12 and the negative 5 in parentheses, can you explain again why it's going to be a negative 480, please?
Yeah, I got you. So first and foremost over here. So follow along here, Karen. So if I do 8 times 12, that's a positive times a positive. And so that'll be a positive 96, right?
Okay.
Cool. So basically, we can break the problem down then. If we're rewriting it, we can break it down to positive 96 times a negative 5. And so here, we're multiplying a positive number and a negative number. And because it's a positive and a negative, that falls under the rule of opposite signs, right?
Yes.
Cool. And if we're multiplying opposite signs, that always ends up as a
negative.
booyah.
Oh, snaps. Okay.
Hey, great question, though. Good question, because I bet you somebody else may have had that question.
Gotcha. Oh, cool. Thank you.
Hey, you're welcome. Thanks for asking. And so, Mikhail, and then we're moving on to the next one. Go ahead, boss.
Yeah, I'm just like I don't know, like, why did you go for the 8 times 12? Like, naturally, my brain went to 12 times 5, and then, just 8 and 6.
Oh, yeah, that works.
48.
Yeah,
it was easier for me to do it that way.
Oh, hell yeah. Hey, I'm not knocking you for it. That's a great way to think about it. That's actually a better way to think about it than how I did it. Absolutely. Because so everybody, what Mikhail said was, hey, look, notice how we have 12 and 5 here. 12 times 5 is 60. 60 meaning a 0 next to the 6. That makes it easier to deal with because a 60 times 8, well, 6 times 8 is 48. But because it was 60, just bring the 0. So instead of 48, it'll be 480. So Mikhail, better way to think about it. Absolutely. And you got it. Yeah. Absolutely. And so with that said, hey, good stuff there, man. Good stuff. And so let me go ahead and go to this next one here. So these are all division. But I'm going to tell you right now, the same rules apply. So everyone, go ahead. I'm going to give you exactly 1 minute, 30 seconds. Try this one out. Go for it. So we have 12 divided by negative 4. Everybody, first off, what's the sign going to be? We have a positive divided by a negative. Those are opposite signs. It's going to be negative. So I don't care who you are here. If you're telling me, I went blank, I don't know what to do. You do know what to do. All you have to do is look at your notes. I said, hey, with division or multiplication, first, let's take a look at those signs. Opposite signs, it's going to be negative. Then take care of the numbers. 12 divided by 4, everybody is what? 3. And so the answer will be negative 3. And so if anybody here was looking at this and saying, hey, I blanked out, I had no idea how to do this, we didn't rely on our fundamentals. We just have to make sure we do that. And again, I'm not knocking anybody here. I just want to really expose you to the idea of, again, the importance of fundamentals. That's what this is all about. So 30 divided by negative 6. Everybody, answer is going to be positive or negative. Go. Positive or negative, positive or negative. Come on. First step. It's going to be negative because we have opposite signs. So automatically a negative, then 30 divided by 6 is negative 5, negative 5, negative 5. Cool. Sounds good. Negative 5. And there we have it. Next. All right. Sign. Let's go. It's going to be positive. Crystal's like, I'm on a winning streak. Let's go. All right. So a negative divided by a negative is the same sign. Same sign always results in a positive. 24 divided by 3. That's going to give us 8. Positive 8. Booyah. Next. What's the sign going to be of this one? Go. Ooh, that's interesting. What's the sign going to be? Ooh, we have so many people, so many mixed answers here. Some saying positive, some saying negative. Let's go ahead and explore why. So here's the thing, everybody. There's a couple different ways you can think about it. One, you can understand that a negative fraction is the same exact thing as saying the negative in the numerator, just like that. Same thing. Those are the same thing. And if you didn't know that, write that down. It's all good. Write that down. So here's the thing. Let me just make sure you know this. A negative fraction is the same as the negative up top or the negative on the bottom. It's all the same. It's really all the same. And so if you have a negative in front of your fraction, you can include it in the bottom. If you did it to the bottom, you have a negative negative. Well, negative negative is positive. Okay, makes sense. Even if you put it up top, everybody, a negative divided by a negative, still going to be positive. So that's the thing. I want to make sure you know how fluid mathematics is, all the different ways things can be represented, because again, these fundamentals are going to take over when that pressure hits, as long as we practice properly. We got this. So with that, everybody, a negative divided by a negative, help me out here. Negative divided by a negative is going to be positive, and then 45 divided by 5 gives us correcto mundo, 9. So the answer here will be positive 9. Positive 9. And so I heard someone asking, hey, the 5 is already negative. So if I put the negative in the bottom, well, yeah, if I did that, a double negative is a positive. And so we would have 45 divided by 5, which is a positive 9. Still going to be the same answer. Same exact answer. So let's keep it moving here. Negative 90 divided by 9. Everybody, the sign is going to be what? Sine, sine, sine. Correcto mundo, that's going to be a negative sign. And then 90 divided by 9 is going to give us negative 10. Good. And so one more time, the sign, it does matter. I think that was that Tiffany or Jessica? Tiffany. So it doesn't matter. It does matter. It doesn't matter where you throw the negative. If it's outside, it doesn't matter if you put it up top or put it on bottom. Doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. As long as you apply the idea the right way, you're good. As long as you apply the idea the right way, you're good. Yeah. So here, negative 8 divided by negative 4. Sign first. What's it going to be? Correct. Positive. Same signs. Positive. 8 divided by 4, everybody. 2. Correct. Correcto mundo. Next up, negative 48 divided by 3. So positive or negative? Correct. That's going to be negative. You have a negative and a positive. That's going to give you a negative. And then 48 divided by 3 gives us what? Not 12. We can check our work here. 3 times 12 is 36. Not 48. It's going to be 16. It's going to be 16. Going to be 16. I'm going to save the mental math side of things. Go ahead and practice your skills there to make sure you learn that. Negative 155 divided by negative 5. The sign is automatically going to be what? Positive. Correct. 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 Negative and a negative makes a positive. And then 155 divided by 5. Let me ask you this. 155 is awfully close to 150. Everybody, what's 150 divided by 5? 150 divided by 5. Yeah, that's going to be 30. So 155 divided by 5 is 31. And so I will go ahead and please the crowd there for those of us who need that long division. 3 into 48. 3 goes into 4 once. Bring the 8 down. 3 into 18 gives us 6. Right there. Over here, we're going to end up having 5 going into 155. 5 goes into 15 3 times. 5 goes into 5 1 time. 31. Yeah, that's right, Kenley. Yeah, you can. Yeah, the mental math. Again, if you've been in my classes before and you've been learning your mental math, you're in a good spot. Yeah, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. For sure. And so with that said, it is 7:41. So there was a word problem component to this, but don't worry. In tomorrow's class, we have all word problems, and we're going to be doing money word problems involving positives and negatives. So we have a treat tomorrow. So with that said, what we're going to do here, because it's 7:42 already, going into word problems would not be a responsible choice as your teacher, because that'd be throwing in another loop that I want to make sure instead that we're expanding on that confidence that we currently have. So what I'm going to do, instead of going into the word problem part of it, I am going to throw in practice sets and have you all practice here. So with that said, we have 2 of these. And if we do have time at the end, we will do those word problems. All right. So the timing here, per slide, the first one I'm going to show you is going to have 5 problems. Now, here's the thing. If any of these problems are a little out of reach for you, I'm going to write out a few different problems at the bottom that are a little easier. If you want to try those out, go ahead and try those out. But this is going to mix the operations together. That way you have a proper look at what's going on. So here we go. I'm going to give us exactly 2 minutes per slide. And so this first set is going to have 5 problems on it. Again, it's going to have 5 problems on it, but I'm going to write a few extra ones at the bottom in case you wanted some easier ones. So 3, 2, 1, let's go. So let's go ahead and start from the beginning here. Let's get things done. Negative 12 plus 17. Everybody, what is another way to think about this? If I have a negative 12 plus a 17, in your own words, what's another way to think about this? Go ahead, chat box. That's right. This is subtracting. Exactly. This is subtracting, but we always keep the sign of the bigger number. In this case, 17 is the bigger number. 12 minus 17, same thing as 17 minus 12, and that will give us 5. That will give us 5. Because again, opposite signs there, take the difference, keep the sign of the bigger number. 75 minus 180. So is this the same strategy, everybody? Subtract and keep the sign of the bigger number? Yeah, same exact strategy, exactly. So you can think about this as what's 180 minus 75? You can do 180 minus 70, 110. Minus the 5, 105. But because we're subtracting a bigger number in 180, the answer will be negative 105. So again, take the difference, keep the sign of the bigger number. And if you notice, if I start at $75 in my bank account and I buy something worth 180, I am not going to be happy looking at my bank account. It's not going to say a positive 105. It's going to say a negative number. It's going to say a negative number. Now, let's take a look at this one here. Anybody here skip this one? I already saw a couple of people who said that, yeah. Hey, it's all good. Hey, if you feel like I'm calling you out, just chuckle a little bit, laugh it off. Let's go ahead and get to it here. So we got negative 14 divided by 2 minus 36 over negative 3. Okay, I can admit to you right now, this looks a little complicated, right? It looks a little complicated. But is it doable? Yes. Step at a time. Also, I won't name you since you direct message me. I am going to talk about my program, the All Access Pass at the end. Just stay put to the end. Class is almost over. I got you. I'll let you know about it. You're good. I know you're not going to miss the Labor Day sale. I got you. So we have negative 14 all over 2. Everybody take it one step at a time. So 14 divided by 2, what's that going to give us, everybody? That's going to give us 7, and it's going to stay negative. So let me just write this down here. 7, and then this over here, the negative, stays negative. Okay? Stays negative. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop the subtraction here. I'm just going to drop it, and then I'm going to take care of this. Everybody, 36 divided by negative 3. What's the sign going to be? Positive or negative? Right here. Only this. Only this. What's going to be the sign? Right, it's going to be negative. It's going to be negative because you have a negative and a positive. So that's going to be a negative number. And then everybody, what's 36 divided by 3? That's going to end up being 12. And so anybody here who thought that they had to subtract fractions, nope, you didn't have to. Nope, they simplified nice and easy there. And so now we're good. We're good. We have the negative 7. And then over here, everybody, when we have minus a negative, what's that going to turn into? Yeah, subtracting the opposite is the same as adding the regular, adding positive. A double negative is a positive, yes. And so that's going to give me a plus 12. So now that we have this, we have a negative 7 plus 12. It's not going to be 19 because here what we're looking at is a negative plus a positive. So we're going to subtract and keep the sign of the bigger number. Everybody, 12 minus 7 is what? 5. And we're gonna keep the sign of the bigger number. Hey, Shikwa, I do absolutely expect you to try. Even if you were confident today, the point is to continue practicing to build that confidence. And I'm here to help you out with that. So stick around. I got you. At least see how we get it done. I got you. So here, boom, we have a negative plus a positive. So remember, the rule here is to subtract the numbers, 12 minus 7. You get a 5. But because the 12 is bigger, you keep it as a positive 5. Because remember, this is the same thing as saying 12 minus 7. Same thing. And so we have a positive 5. So if you had 19, that's close. Very, very close. Like you did a lot of the steps right. You did. And you were just one little step away. That's all it was. So let's go ahead and take a look here. If it doesn't simplify, then you're probably looking at a fraction problem, same denominators, and then do your thing. You didn't have to do that there. And so let's take a look at this one, everybody. Which operation are we doing first? The subtraction or the addition? Which one are we doing first? This subtraction or this addition? Which one are we doing first? Trick question, multiply. Multiply. Remember, everybody, PEMDAS, we want to multiply first. Yeah, we got to multiply first. And so help me out here. We have a 5 times a negative 5. The signs here, I got you. I know, I suck. So a positive times a negative, that's going to give us a negative. And then 5 times 5 gives us 25. So we have a negative 25 sitting right here. Okay, cool. And so let's just bring everything else down. 12 minus 10 minus 25 now. And so remember, this was a positive there, so a plus negative 25. But everybody, think about it. If we're adding a negative number, that's the same thing as subtracting, right? Yeah, that's the same thing as subtracting. So again, take it step by step. And again, if you have questions on how something works, please let me know. I got you. So this turns into 12 minus 10 minus 25. So here we can just go left to right here. Just go left to right. Everybody, what's 12 minus 10? Right, that's going to go ahead and be 2. Absolutely. Right here, that's going to be 2. And so 2 minus 25. Everybody, how far apart are 2 and 25? 23, but we'll keep the sign of what? The 25 or the 2? Yeah, the 25. We'll keep the negative because, again, the 25 was bigger, and we're subtracting a bigger number than what we have. So that will be negative 23. Negative 23 there. So I'll let you see and observe that one more time before I move on to this one here. So lastly, and I'll do this one, I'll do these 3 as well. Let me just move them over. Okay, so let's focus our attention over here. Negative 43 plus a negative 19. Everybody, what's going to happen with that minus negative? What's going to happen there? Yeah, if we subtract a negative, that's going to give us a plus, a positive. Correct. Absolutely. And then from there, that's going to be plus 19. Okay. So here what we're thinking is, well, if we have a negative 43 plus a positive 19, what we're doing really is taking the difference. And so 3 and 9 can't really do that. So you got to borrow 1. 13 minus 9, that's going to end up giving us a 4. And then 3 minus 1 gives us a 2. And so we're going to have 24, but is it going to be a positive or a negative 24? It's going to be a negative. Adam, go ahead and ask. Yep, it's going to be a negative. And so that's how we can take care of that one. So remember, everybody, speed isn't everything. I know I'm going slightly faster to make sure I can get through all of the problems. But remember, while you're practicing at first, you want quality over quantity. You want confidence before speed, okay? Confidence before speed. because you can be speedy and do it wrong and get all of it wrong. And so for these last ones over here, the 14 minus 26, negative 12. Here, negative 16 minus 28. They're both negative, so we're basically adding them and then keeping them negative. So that's going to give us a negative 44. And then lastly, for this one, let me just zoom out a little more. For this big old green blob over here, let me just move it over so it doesn't kind of get in the way of someone's screenshot. So we're going to have the negative 5 times the negative 4. That's going to give us positive 20. Then when we subtract the 35, that's going to give us negative 15 right there.